welcome to week 7. We are beginning project 3 this week. So this screencast is just going to go over the project 3 brief and the process book instructions for this week. So we'll just get started here. The project 3 is what they refer to as a font poster. In other classes or in the real world, this is sometimes called a type specimen, is usually how they refer to it. So essentially what it is a poster to sell a font to a designer. So type specimen posters were used frequently back before the computer era, when you physically would buy blocks of type, lead type pieces to print something on a letterpress. And so in order to sell the different fonts, they would advertise with these posters. They would send them out to type foundries to show them what the latest and greatest font was and what it looked like. And essentially they just really try and showcase the personality, the style of letters. They allow you to see exactly what styles you would get with the font. So it's just a kind of informational poster, but arranged in an interesting visual way. So it will give you the opportunity to work with typographic hierarchy in a poster format. So let's look at this sample pulled up here so we can see exactly what is required for this project. So as you can see, they've chosen a font from the class font pack, which is Trade Gothic Next. And essentially what they're doing is, let me pull up over here so we can see these requirements. Right here is everything that needs to be on your poster. So read this list, then read it again, because this is what I will be grading you on. And every semester there are students that leave 1 or 2 of these out, and you need them all to get the maximum points. So if we start, you see that 16 by 20, it has the name of the font, Trade Gothic Next. It has brief history and information about the font. So this little paragraph here, you don't need a ton of information, but just a brief little synopsis of who developed the font, what year, why was it developed, is there anything interesting about it, just a little tidbit right there. And you can find that information just with a quick Google search. The font designer's name, which is right here, and then samples of all the weights available. So this is where kind of the artistic interpretation comes in. So you do need to show, as they've done down here, all of the weights: regular, bold, heavy, bold compressed, bold condensed. And then there's this other column over here. But as you can see, that's not necessarily the focal point of this page. So they've included it, but it's not taking up a big chunk of the page. It's not drawing our attention, but it is there if you want to refer to it. So I think that's the best way to treat this element, is just to include it down. You can do it like this in a box at the bottom. You can do it as she's done kind of up here, where it's like a texture in the background. But make sure that you are including all of the families, all of the weights that come with this font. Pricing and contact information, that's right here. We've got the website, we've got the purchase price, and it meets the requirements of having 3 colors, and it uses a font from the class list. So this is a really good example of someone that checked all the boxes, did it in an interesting way. So you can see it's definitely not boring. They've kind of played with the letters, the positioning on the page. They have nice use of white space. They've got like a texture pattern going on back here. So this is a good one to kind of model yours off of. I've made a little PDF and I've attached this to this week's announcement as well. These are some samples. These are not from this class, so they don't necessarily have all the elements that will be required of you, but they're kind of a good little reference guide to look through some other type poster specimens. So here's one for Garamond. As you can see on this one, they have the title is front and center, and then they've just included kind of 2 large scale letters that add some interest and dimension to it without overwhelming the information. This one's really tiny, but again, this one, they've used the name of the font Times Roman in a little bit more of an artistic way, interspersed with this history here and the font designer. This one for Optima, they've created a frame with one of the letters, and again, they've listed out all of the weights here. Bedoni. As you're noticing as we're looking through these, it's nice when the style of the poster kind of reflects the actual font. So Bedoni is a very classic, old school serif font, and they the poster reflects that, right? It's symmetrical, it's centered, it feels very old school, very traditional, and it matches the feeling of the font. Whereas when we get into Helvetica, which is very modern and new, it has a lot of weight to it. As you can see, they've treated it quite differently. So we have overlaying colors, creating new shapes, creating this pattern in the background. This feels very modern and clean and different from this Bodoni one. So you want to be able to showcase the pieces of the font, the style of it, with the design of your poster. Again, Universe, very bold and angular. We have it on this diagonal here. Another one for Helvetica. And then this last one is interesting. This is actually a old type specimen from a book that you would get from a type foundry that shows all of their different typefaces. So this is what they actually looked like back in the day. So I'll include this so you can go through it in this week's announcement. So let's jump back over here. We went over the requirements. So this week we're starting with our research and sketching phase. So we'll come back over to the process book instructions for Module 7. All right, so this page, you're going to put your research about the font. So just what I talked about, a quick Google search will give you some research into the font designer, when it was designed, was it used in anything notable, is it known for something today? Just kind of put a little page of research here. You don't need to type this out. You can even just copy and paste what you find on Wikipedia, but do make sure that you read it so you have a good understanding of the font. All right, step 2 are thumbnails. So you print out this page, draw with pen or pencil, draw on your thumbnails here, 18 of them. Then we're going to bring in the best of those, the best 10, to the computer and do digital sketches. So here you should actually be using the font now. You should have editable text that's actually employing the font that you've chosen here. So you can start getting a feel for how it's going to lay out on the page. And then, as always, you'll have the letter drawing activity, and then the type journal, which this week is examples of typography from book covers. So pretty straightforward this week in what you need to do. So feel free to leave any questions or comments on this announcement. Thanks.